to order the February 5th Parks Commission meeting. Can I get a roll call?
Jablonski.
Here.
Converse here. Nabel.
Here.
Holland.
Here.
And
Here.
All right, you have the December 4th meeting minutes in front of you. Is there a motion to approve?
I make that motion. I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, any opposed? All right. Minutes approved. Tim McCann, our newest member, would you like to give us a little introduction?
Sure. Tim McCann. I've been a resident of the city for about 3 years now. When I actually, even before we moved here, I joined the Community Visioning Committee and was active in that. And then when Steve was elected mayor, I took over his spot for the Trails and Greenway Committee that involves Des Moines and all the surrounding suburbs. And that committee was dismantled here this past fall, and so decided I wanted to keep on serving and join your group here. So thank you very much. I look forward to working with everyone.
We're glad to have you. All right, no audience items?
No, ma'am.
All right. Update on the regional park pre-campaign process.
Thank you for the opportunity to be here with you. My name is Josh Faber with Renaissance Group. We've been asked to help with the pre-campaign process for the new regional park. Put you in the dark a little bit so that we can bring some light to your night, hopefully. We've been working with staff over the holiday season to pull together the details of the plan that was first imagined by Confluence back in 21. Since that time, we have gotten a group of local community leaders together last week. Let's see, Monica, anything else here? No? We had a good group. We had 15, 16 people met out at the bank and for about an hour and a half that morning. All different types of local residents, businesses that have an interest here or are headquartered here, and brought them together to use them as our beta group for our presentation of the case, the story that we're telling to the community. This is the manifestation of this. This is at the printer right now, so you'll get copies of this. Obviously, over the next few weeks, I'll just scroll as I'm going through my presentation. The story that was shared with the group that day and that we want to continue to share with the community over the next 6 to 7 weeks is really focused on not only the park, but what the park means to human beings. It's fine to invest in infrastructure without tying that back to what difference it makes in the lives of human beings. We oftentimes don't see the great community support that we need for a project like this to come to life, whether that be through philanthropic support of the capital campaign or through support at the polls of a referendum for a bond that's considered as part of this package. So we will be continuing to have those conversations in some one-on-ones, but largely in small groups over the next few months. And that is really one of the things that this commission, if you were individually inclined to do so, would be fantastic at helping us to implement, is the small group process. We will be looking for probably 8 to 10 hosts to bring together peers in the community, whether they be friends and neighbors or colleagues, professional colleagues, whatever the case might be, to coalesce that group of probably, again, 8 to 10 people. This can be done in somebody's home, in their business, here at City Hall. We've got lots of options. And Jason will come in with the materials and walk the group through the project. It takes about an hour. Give everybody an opportunity to have their questions asked and answered. Obviously, at this juncture in a project, there are still some questions that don't even have answers yet, but we can certainly dig in and find those as we need to. And that's really the next step in the pre-campaign process, is to go through that level of communication with the community as a whole. The small group host is really just that. It's a host. It's someone who brings together this group of people, don't have any responsibility for presenting, don't have any responsibility for follow-up on the backside. That's really all on us and city staff. But we do need some people that are willing to host these meetings, and so Jason will be reaching out to each of you, along with members of the Friends of the Parks group, to ask some specific people to host small group meetings. And to organize that, usually the most effective way is to put all the hosts together, either via Zoom or in a human meeting, for about 40 minutes, to walk through their role and to decide who's going to call whom, and make those invitations. So that's really the next step, and then those meetings will be carried out over the second half of February, all of March. Concurrent with that, we will be conducting one-on-one interviews with a sample of that audience. That helps us to understand what is the likely level of giving for the philanthropy piece, and then also to help us understand what is the likely level of support for the bond referendum, should there be one that would come to bear in November. That felt a little disorganized, so I apologize. Hopefully it didn't sound that way to you. What did I miss?
I know the process inside and out by this point. So, I mean, does the commission have any questions for Josh or myself?
Either a process or project or kind of where we're at. I know, Tim, you're kind of jumping into the deep end here.
Yep.
When you say, when we invite or when the host invites, what is there specific, I don't want to say demographics because that's not the right word.
There is some criteria.
We're looking for people who are invested or interested already. Is that kind of what we're looking for? We're looking for a broad spectrum of maybe yes, maybe no, and everywhere in between.
Yeah, so there's kind of a couple of thoughts there, and I appreciate your question, Darren. From a pre-campaign perspective, we need to make certain that there are some individuals who represent either themselves, corporations, foundations, that have the capacity to make gifts that far surpass the rest of our capacity, right? And so we can't take any chances there. So, if we know, for instance, when you looked around the room the other day, Monica, you saw, some developers and some businesses that have some deep pockets. Because we know that they're invested in Polk City and they have the resources to help bring something like this to life. So we clearly have a bend toward that in the criteria that we provide, but that's not the only reason. I'd say influence is probably the second most important. Those are the people who can talk to friends and neighbors, can coalesce groups in their community, and who can get messages out like bond referendum is a good thing in this case. And so certainly influence would be, so affluence would be the first, influence would be the second. And then I think the third is we want to encourage our hosts to connect with the people that are most important to them. Whether your sister is a donor or influencer or not, she's most important to you. And so we want to make sure that she gets invited to that meeting as well. To help walk through that process with our hosts, we are in the process of identifying a pool that says, look, these are the 50, 60 people that we know we have to meet with one way or the other. We'd really like to get them to a small group meeting because it's more efficient and there's some real benefit to them being in the room with other people. But we know that we don't have the market on good ideas cornered. Those are going to be the ones that are obvious to us based on their past giving or their past involvement in community projects. You may know something we don't. That new neighbor that just moved in, that woman that just started a business down the street, whatever the case might be, we want to make sure that we're inclusive of those. So we've got a pool for you to start with that's kind of influence and affluence, and then we'd ask you to add them.
Makes sense. Thank you.
Any other questions for me?
Well, having been at that task force, I would just want to say
Yeah, please.
nice job. That was, we got some really good feedback during that discussion, I feel like. So the next step out of that is you're going to be doing some one-on-one calls with those individuals too, right? Because I would say, generally speaking, if comments were very positive in that, people might have just been not voicing anything in opposition during that discussion.
They usually don't, to your point. But yes, our follow-up is that either a volunteer or staff will be making some phone calls, and we will be circling back and conducting one-on-one interviews with everyone who was at that. They all, by virtue of attending that meeting, being invited to that meeting, they met our criteria for interviewees. And then out of these small group meetings that we're going to conduct in the community over the next 6 weeks, there's probably another 25 or 30 interviews that we'll schedule out of that audience. So our goal is not to interview everybody. It's not to tell the story to everybody. It's to tell the story to a sample, take a sample of that audience, and then extrapolate that to. Thanks for being there. I thought it was a good meeting. That's how they go when they go well. I told Jason and Chelsea, it's one of those things, it's kind of like our conversation earlier. When it goes bad, you know it. And it went well. We had great feedback. We had some good critical feedback, which I think is important all the way through the process. And they were a good group. All right. Thank you.
What will the participants, after you make the presentation, whoever makes the presentation, and they have a chance to ask questions, what will they be asked to commit at anything at that point, or just ask them if they're in favor of this, or how do you end the meeting?
The end of the meeting is thanks for your questions. We are working with a consultant who is helping us through this evaluation process. You may be called and asked to sit down with him for half an hour and provide some one-on-one feedback. Otherwise, the next thing that you can expect to see would be an executive summary of the report the consultant provides to us in April. So we're not going to put them on the spot in that meeting to ask them, are you in favor of this? Are you against this? We will circle back and have that conversation one-on-one with a sample of that audience. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, in my own mind, I'm thinking people are going to ask at the end of the meeting, what's the next step? Is there a bond issue coming, or are we going to strictly look at donations, or maybe that will be part of the presentation?
That is.
Okay.
Yeah, that's definitely part of the presentation, and so is the timeline for moving the project forward. But the immediate step between the end of that small group meeting and the next action is us completing our study, providing that report to council and to the Parks Commission, and then encouraging action items as required to take the project forward, should that be warranted. Ultimately, those will be Park Commission and City Council decisions, but we'll certainly make a set of recommendations based on what we found. And so the next tangible thing that most people who attend a small group receive is usually a letter from Jason that says, here's our decision, here's how we're going to move forward, and here's a summary of the report that you were generous enough to help us generate. And that's 6-8 weeks. So it's not a huge chasm of time there. All right, thank you. Have a good meeting. Thanks.
All right, Jason, you're up with the Q4 cost recovery report.
Yeah, so this report represents October, November, December of 2023. It was a little light, which is pretty normal for a department that doesn't have its actually own indoor space. So a lot of this happened in the fall before the weather really turned. As always, it's broken into youth, adult, and senior. Overall, I was really happy with the youth programming, that we had 2 preschool and 1 elementary aged. We came at a 121% cost recovery, which puts us in line. For the adult programming, a little bit of a surprise here. We had a fall bags league that had been several seasons, and we didn't have enough to make this one go. So reached out to a lot of my regulars, and their kids are just at the age where now mom or dad are looking at coaching commitments. So taking that feedback, working with the host location to see if we can move that to a different day of the week to bring that back for 24. And then senior programming, I'm really encouraged with where this is going. We're getting closer to 10 for each trip. These cost recovery numbers, they're a little higher than what you've seen in the past. They're usually in the 30 to 40%. These were just virtue of these locations were a lot closer, a lot less gas, transportation costs to get there. So, yeah, I mean, one was going up to Luther and the other one was to Altoona. So these were some of our closer ones. But I'm encouraged with the way that those are, they're growing. You guys, it's a light report, but if you guys have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
On your senior programs, are they some repeat participants and then maybe bringing some friends in?
I have regulars at this point. Yeah, and they're certainly doing a really good job of talking to their friends. And I've been invited to a few of the groups up at the library to talk up these programs as well. So, yeah, encouraging where it's going.
Any other questions for Jason? Right, the moment we've all been waiting for, nominating a chairperson for 2024.
I nominate Larry. You said you've done it for Urbandale for how many years? Like, you'd be fantastic.
But you,
Nope, not stepping on any toes.
yeah, I know.
All right, I will second, Larry. All in favor for Larry Jablonski to be our chairperson for 2024?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right. And nominating a vice chairperson for 2024.
I will do it if nobody else wants to. Can I nominate myself?
I'll nominate.
Okay.
I'll second. All right. All in favor of Monica Converse for vice chairperson for 2024?
Aye.
Any opposed? Great. Thank you both for stepping up and doing that. Nominating as secretary for 2024.
I nominate Tenable.
All right, I'll second. All in favor of Darren Tenable for secretary?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, got that taken care of. Reports and particulars. This is the time that if any of you have something that you would like to see on the agenda, bring that up now.
I'm just curious, Jason, in the last meeting that was brought to your attention about the boulders, and I've driven by there a couple times, it looks like there are some, the pile is smaller, so did the city follow up on that, or?
Yes, so we we went out there shortly after the November meeting, or the December meeting, I forget which one it was that we talked about it. Yeah, we brought about a dump truck and a half back to Public Works. So, yeah, we've got them, and boy, they range in size from, I don't know, this to one that's probably about a third the size of a car. It's enormous. So, yeah, we'll be looking at placing those in the parks come this spring, once the ground's available, or, you know, not soft, and we won't tear it up.
Yeah.
I have one thing that I'd ask you to look into is parkland dedication in similar areas in terms of development.
Mhm.
What that looks like in terms of other municipalities, what they require of developers in their areas, and what that looks like and how we line up as a city.
Mhm.
That's something that you can put together.
Yeah, be happy to.
Thank you.
Any specific, just comparables in the area by population?
I mean, yeah, probably looking at towns and Grimes is a little bit different now than it was maybe 10, 15 years ago, but probably population and similar types or proximity to the metro would be good.
Like Adel, Bondurant?
Sure.
Perfect.
All of those would be good examples. Huxley.
For sure. No, I'm happy to do that.
Rob, do you have anything on your side to share?
Yeah, I do, and I won't usually try to use a ton of time, but I do want to cover a couple things. So first off, I'm your liaison for 24, so unfortunately or fortunately, I'll be with you. and I did want to, I'll be here for your meetings. I intend to be here for all of them. If I can't for whatever reason, I'll find somebody and, if you've watched the council meeting, you'll know that this is hard, but I'll try and be quiet until my part, comes up because, liaison reporting back to you just on general things and then specific parks related items, I think is important. I do believe in liaison and I know this came up in the, November meeting we talked about that, but just wanted to say that my plan is to be here. And the other thing that I wanted to mention, so I typically try to watch all the meetings that I don't go to, yours, and paid special attention to the November meeting. I think it was some discussion around, what's our role, for lack of a better term, or I'm paraphrasing, but and I really want to help solve that. I don't have the answers, nor are my answers any more valid than any of yours. Certainly Jason's, other people on council, but this has been out there for a while, and so would like to, for a few reasons that I'll get into, establish what that is. And I don't know necessarily how to do that. I'm thinking some work sessions, maybe joint work sessions. I believe dialogue between recommending bodies like you guys, planning and zoning, and meeting council is important. But I know Josh kind of joked about having work for you guys earlier on, maybe before someone got here. But putting that aside, I think there are very clear roles for Jason, for Friends of the Parks, and I don't know that we've done that for Parks Commission, at least in terms of kind of with the structure as we have it. I think we had roles before Jason, and those should change. But it's been a question out there for a while, and the other reason, and I'll get on my soapbox here for a little bit if you allow me, but I'll make it quick, is I'm struggling with how we're fostering volunteership in Polk City. I think the city has struggled with it. I think there's a number of groups that should be good at it in town that are not, and I really want this to be something that that you understand what you're doing. You have a sense of purpose. You know where it's going. Those are, to me, the basic tenets of volunteering. So, and I say technically volunteers, but that's how I view it, right? And that to me is what keeps a small town, at whatever size we progress to be, a small town that you can get involved and make a decision, because larger communities pay somebody to do that. So anyway, words don't mean a lot, and actions mean considerably more. So more to come on that. Darren, we had a conversation a while back and kind of had to stem the tide, and I think with new people coming on and maybe another new spot being appointed, this is probably now is as good a time as any to set this in. Jason's had enough time to get established and build a great program. Just for the record, I fundamentally believe and come and talk to him that he wants to see a better sense of role clarity here too. So it's not a new concept, but again, now's a good time to do that. So whether you meant to or not, it might be a little bit more time with me. So unfortunately, that comes with it. But I hope we can get to a good spot for a relatively short time. So typically, like I said before, update you on the council thing. So since we've not done that, do you guys have any questions on any council goings ons or?
I guess, do you have any highlights you could share with council? We haven't had a council liaison at any of our commission meetings for several months now.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if there's anything that you think is noted.
Yeah. Getting into budget season now, had our first real work session. For the budget season, or the fiscal year that starts in July. So that's taken a lot of time. I'm sure you've heard that, and I do think this is more parks related. The RFP for Third Davis is out there. Probably probably some sort of mixed use. I mean, I don't want to be prescriptive, but I know there was discussion about parks use there, so that fits in here. That time frame has until March to for bids to come back, and then I think Steve, the mayor, has established a committee to come back with ranked recommendations that you. One thing that I want to be clear on: anything will take multiple meetings after that's accepted, whether that's site plan or rezoning, planning and zoning, site plan approval, all those things. So very open and kind of see where that goes.
So are the bids for buying, just what they would do with the property if they bought it? So it's
Yeah.
they're not just bidding a dollar amount, they have to tell what they want to do with the property?
I don't know for sure, but a price and a plan, maybe not a fully developed, site plan ready plan, but here's our intended use, in a much more than that, but again, not quite the full picture. So, yeah. I think if there's been any other Parks and Rec related in the last couple months, I'm sure there is. I'm blanking on that.
I think so. We haven't looked at any new developments. I mean, I think we'll have some coming here shortly at the beginning of 24 that'll be pertinent, but.
What's the status of the new water tower? In terms of
Working ground here
working ground and
before
stuff?
too long. I don't know if there's a date when we're targeting completion on that. I should, but they've been feasibility study and we're full steam ahead and move dirt. I think you'll see some vertical progress this spring, summer. Which is out on the regional park, obviously. So I know they've been talking to NAP about their plans and sort of finagling the dirt work together. But working together on the dirt work to mutual benefit. Looking forward to working with you guys.
Same. Good to have you here.
Jason, do you have anything else?
Yeah, just a few things for you. Staff is currently working on the summer 2024 brochure. The intent would be to have that published and registration open the first or second Monday of March. So either the 4th or the 11th. I think it's how it falls. The trail project going through town, the seven phase monster that we've talked about. Phase 2 has actually seen some progress. That would be the phase that goes from 3rd across the school property to the regional park boundary. Before the weather turned, our contractor got in there and did some tree removal, some erosion control for the winter, and we'll be looking to do the final grading and pouring concrete in the spring. So that'll be exciting. I'm sure if you've driven that way, you've seen all of the orange flags. So that is approximately where the trail will go through there, and that is 10-foot multi-use trail. And then the last thing, I just wanted to give you guys an update on Parks and Rec taking over K through 2 basketball from the Comet Basketball Club. We just got done with our second week. I think, knock on wood, it's going pretty well thus far. We ended up with 205 registries. That's 20 teams total across the 3 age groups, and something to that scale doesn't get done without volunteers. So to any of them who may be watching or listening, thank you to those volunteer coaches. Like, they make programs like that.
What was your ratio, registrants versus volunteers? Do you know that offhand?
I don't. I don't.
It's always an interesting thing for me because it's wildly variable.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. On the age groups too, I found. But I would say for a team of 10, 1.5 coaches. Some it was struggling to find one, and some I had options, and some teams having a head coach and an assistant coach. So yeah, it just kind of varies. But no, thank you to all of them that are spending their Saturdays teaching basketball in Polk City. I think that's all I have.
Anyone else have anything? All right. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So move.
Second.
All right, all in favor of adjourning?
Aye.
Great. We will adjourn until March 4th.